Hello again, welcome back to my drawing and storytelling video. We'll be talking about the unicorn of the sea today, the narwhal. I'm just going to start with a light pencil sketch. Narwhal head is a little bit boxy with a very long spiral tusk. The flipper are very small and they can curl up a bit when they age, especially in the male. Narwhals are Odontidae, that means they're a toothed whale and they're in a family called Monodontidae. They are the smallest whale. Smallest means they can grow up to 5 to 6 meters, which is a size of a car. I'm just gonna add a little baby narwhal or a calf here. Narwhal will reach the sexual maturity at the age around 6 to 9 and they would give calf every 3 to 4 years and usually one single calf. They are surely can live up to 25 years and sometimes even 50 years old. It's not so easy to find narwhal in the wild because they live up on the very remote Arctic circle like Svalbard, Greenland. So as a person from a tropical countries, I have zero chance to see a narwhal in around the area that I live. I still have chance with the orca sometimes. Luckily, they pass by the Andaman Sea. It's very rare, but it was documented. But for narwhal, zero chance. They do migrate between winter and summer, but they're just gonna stay around the Arctic area. Narwhal lives in a habitat that covered with a lot of ice sheet. And as they are mammals, they still need to breathe, and they just gonna find a hold of an ice sheet, then they come up to breathe. And sometimes you might hear the news that many narwhal are trapped in a small ice hole between lots of ice sheet, and there are so many narwhals and there was not enough space to breathe and they could die from that. The color of narwhals are kind of blackish and grayish, especially on the back, but on the lower body it's more white and they are molted with gray and black dots. And if they get older, especially from the male, the flavor is gonna curl up a bit and the white part is going to be increased while the gray part is going to be decreased. So again, it's like you grow older and you kind of grow a gray hair, something like that. That's just my thought. For baby narwhal or narwhal calf, they gonna be born with kind of pinkish color and they gonna start to turn gray. After 2 years, the molten patterns, the dots, are going to be developed. Narwhal calves are born in summer because the mother will have time to prepare, like feeding the young, nursing the young, to be able to have thick blubber, which is the fat under the skin, and the young, make sure the young is strong enough to survive the winter, the upcoming winter, which is going to be the first winter of the calf. Because after summer, they're gonna go back to the winter ground, which is actually 90% of the ice sheet covered everything in a freezing temperature environment. Now our mother is going to teach a calf how to survive, how to hunt, how to dive, how to get through the ice mate under the ice sheet. So they are highly dependent on the mother during the early stage of age. Now let's talk about something that many people are waiting for is the tusk. This is why narwhal gets called unicorn of the sea because they look like unicorn because of this long horn. Well, it's actually not a horn, but it's a tusk, which is a tooth sticking out of their jaw. And do you know that the tusk can get to like 2 meters long, and even if they grow older, it can get like 3 meters long. Anyway, it's really interesting that only male narwhal have tusk and female doesn't have it. Actually, female have a tusk, but it just hide inside the skull. It is not visible. But for male, it just grows so long, 2 meters, 3 meters long, and no one knows for sure what's the function of the tusk for until now. Some scientists say it might be a sensory organ that can sense the density of the salt in the water. But how is it going to work with a female that doesn't have tusk? Or are they just relying on the male in the pot as well? That's just my thought, but what do you think? Just comment below. And some people say that the tusk is for showing off for the female. So the male have longer tusk would attract more female, just like an elephant with a bigger tusk. They would have this behavior of showing the tusk up in the air vertically, but didn't really fight with the tusk. So maybe it's just showing off, or maybe they're trying to send something in the air. That is just my thought again. But For me personally, I don't think they used it for fighting. Using it to show off or being dominant sounds more sensible to me. But I'm no scientist here, so don't believe me. So we just keep an eye on the news if they have any update about the function of the narwhal tusk. Oh wait, can we just go back to the salt part? I was mentioning that narwhal tusk might have some kind of sensory that can sense the density of salt in the water. But what's salt got to do with this? Well, if there's a salt in the water, that means the water have to get a little colder to get freezed. So in clear normal water, the water is freezed at 0 degrees Celsius, but in salt water, it will freeze at minus 1.8 degrees Celsius, so it has to go a little colder. So in this situation, if it's really the function of the tusk, Narwhal might be using the tusk to predict when or where the water is going to be freezed into the ice sheet or when it's going to be melt. Maybe that could be possible? But did you know that 15% of female narwhal would grow tusk, but the tusk is going to be smaller and much less spiral than the male? This is what I wonder, if they really used the tusk for sensing the salt in the water, what does the female gonna do because they don't have tusk? Or maybe they will use the tusk that hide inside the skull that doesn't really show up visible? We're not over with tusk yet, but we're gonna be finishing with this soon. Very, very rare that you see a male, a lucky male with two tusks, just like what I'm drawing right now. There was a rumor that Queen Elizabeth I bought a narwhal tusk for £10,000, which could be something like a million today, I guess. So, are you bored with the task? Should we move on to something else? Yeah, I think we should. Let's talk about the name. What does narwhal means? Well, their name is believed to be an origin from an Old Norse language. So, Nor means corpse, yeah, a dead body, and Val means whale. So basically, narwhal means corpse whale. Well, they say that narwhal looks like the color of a dead body that died in a cold sea. Well, we all know that whales have language, right? And imagine if one day narwhals are able to communicate with us human and they found out what we call them. I think they'd be mad. I think this situation could apply the same for sperm whale. Look how we call them sperm whale. We're gonna talk about sperm whale later. Okay, let's talk about the food. What do narwhal eat? Well, they live in Greenland. They live in the Arctic Circle, so the foods around there are definitely tropical foods, right? The fish that they like to eat are Greenland halibut. If you never see this fish, Google it. Or yeah, I'm just gonna show you on the screen. Fine. They look very funny, and this fish can fly, but they always looks like they're always on the side when even they're swimming or they're moving or they're laying. Yeah, part of that. The other foods of narwhal are like Arctic and polar cod, squid, and shrimp, or sort of stuff. But yes, definitely they don't eat whales like orcas. So here we go. I finished my three novels. One have a task and the little calf, where the calf doesn't usually attach to the father, but I just draw this anyway. And the other lucky male with two tasks. I hope you enjoy the narwhal, and I'll see you next time.